it's not enough to talk about love. It's not enough to think that, well, I'll be loved in a primary relationship and then I'll be happy. What we have to do is continually make love real. So we're going to be talking about that all month and all of the ways in which we do that. We're not going to be talking primarily about personal, primary relationships. We're going to be talking about this idea that love is the impulse of life itself, and it is the impulse to express and create and to give of itself. And I love that, the donation to eternity, right? That's a powerful declaration of giving of ourselves into life, giving our gifts and our talents. And so today we're going to talk a little bit about being love. How do we show up as love? And it's not all hearts and flowers, is it? Sometimes showing up as love is not so easy, especially when those other people are not showing up as love, right? Or we find ourselves in particularly difficult or trying or challenging opportunities. And being love is something we practice. Love is a verb, and it is a way in which we show up in life. It's not, surprisingly enough, something that we get. It is something that we are. And it's something that we allow to express itself. Now, if you're like me, that has not always been easy. It's not always been comfortable. It's not always been supported, expressing myself. Too much, too little, too this, too that, right? We all have fit in the box, and it's hard sometimes to express that love. And then we have what's going on in our own minds, all of that conversation that we're having with ourselves. Well, that wasn't very loving. Well, that was stupid. Well, I can't believe you did that. Or all the ways in which we are having a conversation, and all the people that live inside us that, it's hard sometimes for them to feel love or to be love when it's our 2-year-old or our 8-year-old or our 12-year-old who has come to the forefront maybe unexpectedly. And practicing being love can be really challenging in those times. So I want to show you a video. I want to say thank you to Disney for this video. This is if you don't own Disney Plus, I am making an advertisement for Disney Plus, especially their shorts and some of their amazing things. So this is a brand new short on Disney Plus. It's called 20-something. Now she's going to, so I just want you to pay attention. When and where are the characters being love, and what might be standing in the way of them being love? So we're going to watch this video. All right, I fell in love with that when I saw that. I want to thank Disney. I got to see a little short of the woman who started to create that. And, it's about adulting, but it's also about spiritual living. How many of us feel like we have all those competing parts of us that sometimes are driving the bus, and we don't know how to be a spiritual being. We don't know how to be love. And we don't always do it great. And then somebody comes along and loves us and is being love herself, her sister, being love herself, reminding us, no, wait a minute, but you've done this and you've grown through that and you've experienced something and you have gone out into a spiritual way of living, and you are doing it. I mean, what an extraordinary way to be love toward each other. And then to be love towards ourselves, to be compassionate to those places and those parts of us that feel lost or feel like, I don't know how to do this, or what the heck is going on, or gets tired or depressed or angry or all of those things, or wants to sit like a baby and cry and, have a little temper tantrum. And yet we can be love to ourselves. And we can remember that when we are being love to others, we're lifting them up. And we are expressing the very truth of the oneness of who we are. We don't have to do it perfectly. Most likely we're not going to do it perfectly. But we keep getting out there. We keep bringing our spirituality to bear to the best of our ability over and over and over again. And slowly but surely we discover ways in which to be love in difficult situations, ways in which to bring light when things feel heavy or dark, ways in which to share of ourselves, our contributions, our presence, when that's what's being called for. I thought this movie really helped depict this constant tension that we have of being spiritual beings in a human experience. Both of them are simultaneously true. They're simultaneously part of our reality. But it is when we begin to recognize the truth of the fact that we are growing into the spiritual beings that we already are, that we begin to be able to move out into the world in a different way, right? And that's the whole point. We don't want to have temper tantrums. We don't want to sit in the corner and cry. We don't want to run away from the hard stuff. We want to be able to engage in our lives spiritually mature, right? And that's not that different than being an adult. It's growing and maturing into our faith to the best of our ability. And being love, again, I want to say how important it is that it is about loving all parts of us. Sometimes that's hard. Not just because we have different ages that are coming to the forefront, different fears, different old beliefs from different ages, but also because sometimes we're not sure of who we are, of what we are. And the people around us can be equally unsure. So I want to show you a second Disney little short that absolutely stole my heart. And again, just invite you to see where love is present and maybe where it's not. So here comes the second Disney short. It's called Float. So I'm going to suggest that if you don't have Disney, well, you can get Disney Plus. I highly recommend it. But there's also a fabulous National Geographic with Will Smith. Oh my God, you don't want to miss it. Yeah, right? Oh, unbelievable. Or, find a friend who has Disney Plus and watch the movie Float. It is the story of a little boy who floats. And his dad, who doesn't know how to deal with it, and puts rocks in his pockets so he won't float, so people won't think they're weird or be afraid of them. And then it's the unfolding of that. And how many of us have been told to show up differently? Not in terms of behavior, which is the growing up part, but in terms of who we are. In terms of our native interests and talents and the truth of the essential being that we are. And when the little boy is in his little hoodie and he has the rocks in its pockets to keep him weighted down, all I could think about was the box that so many of us try to fit in, that have spent a lifetime fitting in the box of normal, acceptable, for women, nice, for men, strong, or whatever the stereotypes are, whatever the ways in which we have boxed ourselves in, and people have lovingly tried to civilize us, teach us how to get along in society. The problem is, along the way, so often we've been put in a box. One of the worst things we can do to our children is believe that their behavior reflects on us. And yet so many of us are raised that way. So many of us have the experience that our parents feel as though we've somehow let them down or betrayed them if we don't behave well as we're growing up, or we don't behave in alignment with the way that they live their lives. And we have to find that within ourselves. Find that strength and courage to be who we are. I love what John Bradshaw says. He has a beautiful book, a psychology book. It's all about the way that shame is passed along in a family. It's actually energetically passed along in some pretty extraordinary ways. And he says, look, really, we really only need enough shame not to run naked through the grocery store and throw up on the people around us, right? We do actually have to be somewhat civilized. We have to learn to stop at stop signs. And there are ways in which we engage that allow us to maneuver in the world. But when that becomes a smaller and smaller and smaller box, less and less and less of our light shines, because less and less and less of our love can come out, because we are unable to express how life is showing up as us. Ernest Holmes defines love as Spirit's self-givingness of itself into creation. So love has shown up as us so that it can be in the world. And we do the same. But the other character in the movie is the dad. And the dad has to make peace with his son who floats. And whatever reactions people have about that. Have we made peace with ourselves? And more importantly, how many times have we not made peace with the way somebody else shows up? Who they are, what's important to them, what they value, and the kind of life that they are seeking to express. Not behaviors. Remember, behaviors are learned, right? That's when we're 12 or 6 or 2. Behaviors are learned. Behaviors are out of skill sets. We can learn how to communicate. We can learn how to deal with our anger. We can learn how to self-reflect. We can learn how to be self-aware. We can learn how to talk more. We can learn how to talk less. We can learn how to be more interested. We can learn how to not glom onto things, right? These are all behaviors. And they're all things that we can navigate in terms of skill sets and learning. They aren't actually who we are. Who we are is the way life is seeking to express and experience life as us. Do we float? Do we swim? Do we like to create? Do we like to learn? Do we like to explore? Do we like to build? Do you see, the way in which our unique sensibilities and our unique essence is coming forth into the world? That's who we are. And one of the hardest things for me was to be love to those people who I thought put me in a box. and didn't want me to be who I am. And I spent a lot of years in that box. And I'm still climbing out of it. I'm still finding ways to be truer to my authentic self while continue to embrace adulting, embrace spiritual maturing, embrace the skills that allow me to maneuver in the world. And so we can also look carefully and thoughtfully at, have we been love in a way that is not just lifting someone up, but also helping them out of the box, supporting their expression of the truth of their being. There's so many ways that we can be love that are deeply grounded in our spiritual philosophy, that are the gift that we are to the world. And when we are that, then people will say, or we might say, when you see me, you see love. Not love touchy-feely, not love, oh, you have such a heart, not love, empathy, although those are expressions of beautiful relationships. Not love, oh, I want to go have dinner with you, maybe go home with you, not any of those. But I see that you are love expressed because I see you are giving yourself to the world and you are allowing others to do the same. To be love. As we celebrate Black History Month all month, it's an opportunity to really celebrate all of the ways in which our Black people and African Americans have been outside the box that society has tried to put them in, that being enslaved in the United States has put them in. To see all the ways and to celebrate that, and to allow that celebration to lift all of us up, to be love, to recognize how amazing it is to be part of a community like this, a spirituality like this, that truly seeks to the best of our ability to honor and lift and respect each and every person as an expression of love. So this week, as you're moving through your life this week, I really encourage you to ask yourself, how can I be love in this moment? How can I be love to myself, to my little girl who's running amok or who's afraid, to the part of me that wants to express my fullest self? How can I be love to the people, the person, the situation around me, and bring my gift, my strength, my wholeness to it and lift it up? And how can I be love for all the ways I don't do it perfectly, but I do it? So this week, be love. I also want to talk for a minute about for those of you who are here on campus, we've given out a bookmark, and I'd love to find a way to put some of these online for those of you who are online. You were supposed to get this January 1st, but as you know, we did not have our burning bowl. Then you were supposed to get it the whole month of January, but as you know, we have not been in the building for the whole month of January. So these are bookmarks that are based on our annual theme, Sacred Disruption, Reimagine Everything. There are numerous quotes. I think there are 6 different versions of the bookmark. There's a spiritual quote on the one side, and a quote about sacred disruption on the other. And so we're going to just keep giving them out. So if you're in the DFW Metroplex and you're with us online, come on in one Sunday and you'll get one of these. Being love is one of the most radically disruptive things you can do. To not engage in the fight, but to speak your truth. To not push in, but to stand strong. To not run away, but engage. To invite someone into their greatness. To have compassion for ourselves when we are not in our greatness. These are all radical acts disrupting old behaviors, disrupting the ways in which we've been, as Don Miguel Ruiz says, been domesticated. To disrupt these things and reimagine our lives whole, not perfect, whole, wholly ourselves, wholly spiritual, wholly human. That is a radical act of being love. So I invite you to join me on that journey this week.